From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered, soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training team.
All right. Okay. You guys good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. I'm going to be your host for this episode. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
Wait a minute. I thought I was hosting.
You can. By popular request, Miss Jennifer is
a lie,
hosting.
But I'll do it.
Yay!
It's not a lie. Not a lie. Requested at the track last weekend by a listener, not named Fisher, who knew. A listener said, "Why doesn't Jennifer host?" I think they're sick of hearing me talk, Jen.
I don't think so, Bill.
I think so. Anyway,
all right.
Miss Jen, you have the calm.
All right. So Bill and Vicki had a very exciting weekend last weekend, and we're here to get the dirt.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
I want to hear the dirt. So let's start with a preview. Give me a preview of how it was. How was the weather? Like, tell me how was it?
Well, going back just a bit further, the week before we had been at pit race, and then I had scheduled us to have an HPDE with Vicki and I for my Father's Day gift, which is early, but whatever. And the closest track that's not Pittsburgh is Mid-Ohio. So I had it in my head that we were going to Mid-Ohio. And then I looked at the schedule and I saw that, the Mid-Ohio is this week. So we started going this week. And then on Tuesday or Wednesday, I realized that Vicki was scheduled for the next one at Mid-Ohio. But by then we'd already started planning it. So my Father's Day got bigger. So Miss Vicki will be at Mid-Ohio for the next 2 HPDEs with me.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. So weather-wise, a little chilly.
I heard it was wet.
It was wet.
It was a little wet on Saturday.
I had a chill that was in me that I couldn't get rid of, but it was also countered by adrenaline. So,
and for those of you playing the Garage Heroes in Training home game, Mid-Ohio in the wet is renowned to be
terrifying.
Okay. Well, perhaps not renowned to be terrifying, but a low grip surface. And we will get into that more as the day goes by.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's start with preparation. How did you guys do with prepping to go to your HPD? What car did you take? Did you have to do anything special for it before you went?
Well, we were trying to take the BMW. The E46 that did not have the roll cage, but we were having a tire issue where the rim, well, apparently the tires in the back are smaller than the tires in the front or wider.
Almost exactly, just backwards. The tires in the back are bigger than the tires in the front. And for those of you playing at home, tires right now are a pain because everybody's out of everything, especially if it's sporty. So we tried ordering the right tires that we wanted, meaning size and brand. And I could not get the ones I needed that just go on the rims we had. So we thought, hey, let's just make it a square setup, which means the tires in the front are the same as the tires in the back. Mm-hmm. Doing that, we found out that the larger tires in the rear aren't in the front for a reason. And that reason is they don't fit. So there's things you can do to make them fit, but we were rapidly running out of time. So I tried getting different size tires for the front, couldn't get anything in time. I could get them by Tuesday, which was great, except that we needed them for the previous Saturday. So we ended up stealing our son's car again.
Yes.
Which was fine.
So,
86.
Right. Which I have never driven on a track. And it was quite fascinating to do so. It swayed quite a bit, more than I was comfortable with at first. So anyway, we loaded it up, took it out.
On track.
Yeah. Loaded it up, took it out, and that's how we started.
Yep.
And of course we got there, and then we immediately went to our hotel and crashed because we were exhausted.
How long did it take you to get there?
6 hours.
Yeah, with the trailer, we towed it out. So Vicki had goals going into the weekend of
learning the track, being comfortable with the track, and learning how to drive my son's car on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bill.
I wanted to either place out of HPDE 3 and get into HPDE 4 either here or the next time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last time that I was there, I was pretty solid on the first, let's call it the first half of the track. But the back half of the track, I knew I was leaving lots of time. So I wanted to improve that. And especially after our HPDE session up at Lime Rock, I wanted to try to extend my vision and be a little further about it. And then if you wanted to ask about one particular turn, there's this madness into the next turn complex, which was driving me crazy the first time I was there. So I figured that out.
High, low, off camber.
Yes. Uphill, downhill, off camber. And then I was looking at the weather, and I had done it before, but it looked like we were going to get a true taste of a wet mid-Ohio. And I knew what I was in for, and I was trying to make sure Vicki did as well.
Yep.
Don't know how.
So, I guess compared to some of the other tracks you've been to, do you like Ohio?
Vicki?
What was your impression, Vic? This is the first time, right? Your first time. Ohio?
Yeah. When I had gone there, I never liked learning a new track. It is difficult for me, but I always kind of look at it like a video game. It's like you got to go through the processes and before you actually have the fun to understand it. Because sometimes, even so, as much as you're driving it, trying to find your points and make sure you understand it's just learning it is not the fun part for me. And then this particular weekend we had rain, and that was difficult because I felt the back end slide out behind me quite a bit. And I decided that I was just going to take it easy because of the wet, and learning this track was crazy. But by Sunday, it was good. By Sunday, I loved the track. By Sunday, I was like, this is probably one of my favorite tracks.
So what did you like most about the track?
Its smoothness when it came to actually drive. If you understand the track and you understand how to enter into the turns, then it just became a lot of fun. And I didn't really understand how to drive the track until I got into the coach's car. And he drove it with me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I just tore out all over the track. It was a lot of fun. But I got to say, it was really scary wet. It was really scary wet. It wasn't so much about driving a wet line. It was about skipping from grip spot to grip spot at that point, because of how much of that sealant and that topping or that coating that was on the track in the particular apex areas, not apex areas, but in the turns. They wanted more grip, so they put this particular coating on. And when it got wet, it was like ice. There were so many cars that spun out. I would say at this HPDE, there was probably more wrecks and more people going off track and more people spinning out in front of me or even hitting walls or hitting each other than I've seen in any HPDE.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. So, Mr. Bill, you have been to Ohio on more than one occasion.
Yes.
And what is your impression of the Mid-Ohio track?
So Mid-Ohio is one of those like bucket list tracks that people hear about and lots of the big boys go race on. So I'm going out there expecting, the clouds to part and to hear people singing opera as I'm walking through the gates. And
did that happen?
Well, they did sing when I left, but not when I was going in, but that's a different story. So, it was it was okay. Not my favorite track. I will say it is growing on me. It is still not my favorite track, but it's fun and it is challenging in lots of different ways. And there's definitely, it's a track you grow into and you can get better and better with time. And
now, how many times have you been there?
I think this was 4th time.
Okay.
So,
and what is your favorite part of the track? Like what do you like about the track the most?
I kind of like the last turn going into turn 1, which is a high-speed left-hand turn, basically pretty close to a right angle. Then you go down a long straight into either just a long straight or a long straight with a chicane into Keyhole, which is a big turnaround. And then you go down another long straight with a kink into what they call China Beach, where you have to basically go from as fast as your car can go into a very short right-hand turn. And then from that point on, I don't like until we get back there around. Although it's starting to grow on me now that I started learning. But that's what I meant. I like the front half, but not the back half. But now I'm starting to get the whole thing. So in general, I would say it's there's a couple turns that are still a challenge in terms of if you just get them wrong, it penalizes you badly, like in time, not in danger. But it's a fun track. Not my favorite yet, but it's getting close to maybe top 5. So.
Okay.
But when it's wet, it's a handful.
Yeah. There is places where you can run off and not hurt your car, but there's also places where you can hurt your car.
Just not Gingerman.
No.
So Vicki,
no.
how did your weekend in Ohio compare to the skid pad that we went to?
I utilized all my skid pad skills. I really did.
Many times.
Yes, very much so. So because of the rain, I actually was more cautious on this track, mostly because I didn't know it. So and I'm in an unfamiliar car on an unfamiliar track, not understanding exactly how it's going to react to different weather settings. So I took it easy because I didn't want to trash the car. It was the only car we had there, and it was my son's car. So I was.
He's whiny.
I know it wasn't even that. I was just extra cautious because it wasn't our car. It wasn't my car. It was my son's car.
Right.
So it would be different if it was a Miata, because if something happened to Miata, then I would be responsible for my car. Yeah. I didn't want to wreck my son's car. I just took it. Yeah, I just took it easy on it. I really took it easy on the track.
Yeah.
But no, I did take advantage of that skid pad because I did feel the slide quite a bit. And I did actually hear my wheels squeal.
Yay. Were they singing to you?
They were singing on the last day. They were singing.
Awesome. So tell me how it was set. Now, is this Northeast?
No,
yes.
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes.
This is the Great Lakes.
Love
the Great Lakes.
Okay. So can you tell me how it go through, like how the sessions are and like how they are coordinating it with the COVID? I know the last one that we went to over the summer was Lead Follow. Was this one similar, or can you share a little bit more about it? You can start with Saturday morning.
Okay. So for me, I ended up having 3 coaches. And I have to say, Jennifer, that you are truly ready for HPDE 2, because this is where
have a blast.
Well, they basically said, listen, we are going to get you comfortable with being uncomfortable. So we're going to push you a little bit. And of course, the rain hindered that. But they offered up a lot of new information on different more different ways of braking, more ways of passing a car, and how to pass offline. So, and it's not just about passing on the straightaway, but they were teaching you how to pass in the turns. Now, they didn't want you passing in the brake zones, which
HPDE.
It's an HPDE, but that was the only place you were not allowed to pass was in a brake zone.
Mm-hmm.
And how to properly make that pass. And it wasn't all about the point buy. Everybody had the point buys down. And then we end up doing drills, which was even more fun. That I have to say, I was very nervous going in. And when they were saying about stuff that we would be doing, I'm just like having like very, very tiny little panic attacks. But I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to breathe through it and do it. And when I started doing the program in HPDE2, it wasn't as frightening as I thought it would be. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. It was exciting. It was fun. It was new.
Now, was this your first time doing HPDE2?
It's my second time.
Second time, right?
First
time.
With Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
First time, yeah, it's the first time with Great Lakes, and like I said, this is when you start doing drills, and now I understand when I'm racing in endurance racing, when those people were passing me in areas when I was a little uncomfortable with, but as long as I was predictable, I was okay. Which I was watching them, the more advanced drivers in our last endurance race passing and how they were passing offline.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of that particular weekend, I was starting to do that. But now I understand how they do it now. I understand the process that they have to go through and how they have to line things up. It kind of reminded me a little bit of when Bill and I would play volleyball, when he would say, when a person is getting ready to approach a hit on a ball a certain way, you can predict where that's going to go, where it's going to land, and where you need to be. And that's when I was watching drivers do this, I was now seeing where the prediction of where their car was going to be so I could pass it next.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
it was good.
This, I guess, with Great Lakes, your other HPDE2, you weren't with Great Lakes. So comparing the two, what did you find most different about the two HPDEs?
Well,
in two,
right. In two, they are very different. I kind of look at the Great Lakes as a learning. If you want to advance in your driving, they offer a great learning program. And they have instructors that are, they hop in your car and they teach you stuff like that. But they really break their program down on not slideshows, but what are they? PowerPoints. They prepare you for going onto the track, and they explain how to drive your car. And then when you go over into the other program, there's not as much instruction. There's very basic instruction in the other program, but you get a lot of track time.
Mm-hmm.
The debriefs are different too.
Yeah, the debriefs are different.
So there's benefits to both.
There's benefits to both.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely benefits to both, but I think that the Great Lakes is more knowledge-based when the other one offers you much more seat time, in a sense. You can focus what you learn in that.
So you mentioned you had 3 coaches throughout the weekend.
I did.
Why did you have 3?
So one,
John is the lead.
Yeah, John is the lead. He's been doing it for many years. And he was giving mostly the PowerPoints, and he was basically running HPDE2. He was running it. I had Joey. I'm trying to remember all their names.
Joey and Derek are the
Joey and Derek. Okay, Derek. I was trying to remember who Derek's name. I have him. I just couldn't remember Derek's name. Mm-hmm. So all three really great guys, and they had Mark. I got to get their last names. Mark was the actual in-car guy, or he was the lead follow guy that we had in my HPDE before. I worked with him.
So there's 3 in-class leads, and then they have a lot of people who help out on track. So it's not just 3 of them on track. So
right, exactly. And all those guys are in their cars. So you got 4 coaches in the cars. The 3 that are in from the track, from the class, are in their cars, and then we had Mark, who was just an in-car guy, and he would come in and offer some what he's seeing on track also. So he would add his input. So you had 4 instructors.
Was it lead follow, or was it
it was all car? Of it. It was all of it.
Okay.
Yes, it was all of it. So you could have a person in your car. You could, in my case, I hopped in Joey. Joey asked, because he knew that it was a new track for me. I think it's Joey Pollock. Yeah. Yes. So he says, why don't you drive with me in my Miata, which was the red Miata that we have. And I raced with him. And as soon as I raced, in his car, then I understood how the track, everything just started clicking for me. So, but they would start with a lead follow, but then as soon as and they would start with how you're supposed to drive. And then as soon as the green flag would hit, they would break out and you would just start, racing and doing your thing.
Open track.
It was open track. Yeah. So they would kind of teach you in the very beginning, and then, for your warm up laps, and then they would just take off, and then they would watch, they would catch up with you and make sure that you were doing what you were supposed to be doing. Yeah. So, I mean, it was such the Great Lakes program is such a great program. And every time that I go there, because it's more of a deep dive into learning how to drive. You're learning how to drive, not just driving your car.
Skills.
Right.
Yeah. And I also remember when we went to Michigan, we shared with them that there was a place for lead follow. Like that was
there was benefits to both.
There was benefits to both. So it's nice to hear that they are doing both.
Well, now that they were doing their COVID program, we had the in-class, and you did mention that earlier, that they had the in-class, and everybody was, wearing their masks. They were 6 feet apart, but they only had one class.
Do one class in the morning for HPDE.
One class, exactly. One class in the morning, and after that, everything is a debrief. And our debriefs were all outside in an outdoor classroom that was open air. It was almost like an Adirondack style. They kind of had like one wall or 1.5 walls, and then the rest of it was open. So it's like a mini amphitheater. So, and then, we would discuss what we were doing, and then they would discuss what the next program was going to be and how they were going to do it. And they would actually tell you, this is what we're going to do. And they would line people up and show you what they were going to do physically with people. So, and that's how we did it. And it was so good, and it was fast, but our outdoor programs probably lasted about 20 to half an hour for our debriefs.
What did you cover?
Wow. That's pretty good. Yeah. So Mr. Bill, you were in 3.
I was.
Was yours similar? Did you get to experience in-car, or you don't in 3, do you?
You always can.
Yeah.
So in 3, there is no strict class time per se, but the debriefs tend to be a bit longer and great detail. So while we don't have a classroom with presentation, the lead instructor in 3 is Robin. And when he's not winning every single race that he enters, he basically does a presentation without a presentation, and we go over lots and lots of stuff, and very little complaining, very little there's only one time somebody had something to say about somebody else on the track. Didn't think they were right in what they were saying, but whatever. But there's none of the constant, wherever we go somewhere else, we tend to have a whole bunch of people who are complaining about point buys. Point buys are an issue. You point buy. And when you're in HPDE 3, you better have your point buys ready. And in HPDE 4, there's no point buys required. So point buys are not a command. Point buys are a way for the driver being passed to control the direction of the pass and tell them that they're ready and they're able. But they're not required. It's a courtesy, but you're not required to go by. Like, one guy gave me a point buy and I didn't want a point buy. I wanted to follow him. So I waved it off. But HPDE 3 is great. You guys are going to have such a good time going to HPDE 2, especially if I can talk you into going to the next Mid-Ohio one, Jen. But, I think you guys are more than ready for 2. And it's really a ton of fun.
Yeah. So share with us, Mr. Bill, did you make it to 4, or is that next time?
Well, that's a complicated question. We can cover later. I was more interested in what drills Vicki did.
Okay.
Vic.
Let me see if I can remember all the drills.
They're listed in front of you.
Oh, sorry. So I'm sorry. So we did the red flag drill. So basically, everybody knows what the red flag drill is. It's just that when the red flag goes up, everybody stops. And of course, we did emphasize, I did kind of bring it up because it happened to me in the Northeast one, that if you don't step on your brakes and you don't hold your brakes, because you will warp your rotors. And
or seize your brake pads to your rotors.
Seize your brake pads. Yes, that has happened. So we all went over that. So we end up having a red flag drill that was a real red flag drill.
Didn't you have a real red flag too?
It was a real red flag.
Not a drill.
Not a drill.
This is not a drill.
This is not a drill, because in our red flag drill, there was a younger guy who was driving a Corvette that had a front spoiler on it that they're almost like large plates.
It's a big wang.
Yeah, it's like a large plate that kind of hangs low. And he was driving this, and he's on the back, not the back straightaway, but it was not the front straightaway, but there's I would call it the second straightaway at Ohio.
It is the back straightaway.
Okay, so they put on a chicane
that's
on it. Yeah, it's part of the front straightaway.
Going into the keyhole for those.
Going into the keyhole. They had the chicane, and he spun, but he spun in a way where it created a T to traffic. So he was being followed right off of the
across
lane line,
the width of the track
in the chicane, and he had 3 cars that had just stopped, forming the T with him. So he tried to go forward, which would put him in a little bit of a dirt spot, but his spoiler was digging into it. So he started to back up, which, as me and another Corvette were about ready to go around them, because we knew we weren't supposed to stop. We were going to create more of a hazard if we did. So he started backing up. We froze. And at that point, because everybody was still coming off the hot pit and they were just starting to really drive, they just threw the red flag, and it was where everybody just stopped, because this car had stopped all traffic. Yes.
So you're saying spoiler. I think you're mispronouncing because you're tired. Splitter. It was the splitter on the front lower section of his car.
Yes.
Splitter.
Exactly. Yes.
We got to do a podcast one time when you're not absolutely dead tired. So
yeah. So we had that. So we end up having a real red flag. Then we had the black flag drill, which we all know what that is. They just point at you, and so we had that one.
What happens if you missed the black flag drill that weekend?
I don't know.
If you miss the black flag, you are ineligible to progress. Not that you were going to progress this weekend anyway, but yeah. Okay. What else?
I don't remember the reverse gridding.
Reverse gridding you might not have done because it rained.
Yes. I remember there was one that they dropped.
It's fun.
Tell us what reverse gridding is.
So reverse gridding is usually you have the let's think of this as a population of drivers. And so you've got a population of drivers. You've got drivers that are very good driving very fast cars. And then you have drivers that are very good driving slow cars. And then you've got drivers that are still working their way up driving very fast cars. And then you've got drivers who are still working their way up and driving slow cars. So what they do is they reverse grid and they put the slower cars in the front and the faster cars in the back. And you got to work it out. So it gets the faster people have to learn how to do traffic. The slower people have to learn how to be comfortable in traffic. And it kind of just works on getting everybody together. And usually if the drill goes well, it sorts itself out in like 1 or 2 laps and everything's back to normal. So
and that is the one that we skipped because of the rain, because it was too treacherous.
Yep.
So we did offline passing drills.
Which was?
It was how to pass when you're offline. So the person in front of you is online, correct, Bill?
Yes.
And then you have to pass offline, which means you can pass in this particular HPDE 2, you can pass everywhere but in the braking zones. Mm-hmm. Every place is fair game.
The goal is to pass as many times as you can in a lap.
Right, exactly. And then you do the offline driving drill,
which you punted on.
Right, because of the rain.
No, because you thought the car was broken.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so when we were doing the offline driving drill, so this happened. Because we were doing the offline driving drill, and me being overly cautious with my son's.
What is the offline driving drill before you tell us what you did?
I don't know because I wasn't there.
Okay. So you pair up. So that one of the things that NASA Great Lakes does that we haven't seen in other organizations, they group the cars. They chop it into 2 different groups. You've got the high horsepower cars and the low horsepower cars. So Thunder is the high horsepower cars and Lightning is the lower horsepower cars. And then within that, they break it up into smaller groups and you'll get into a smaller group of like 3 or 4, and then you'll actually be paired up. So on the offline driving drill, you probably had a partner and the 2 of you were supposed to drive next to each other the entire way, all the way around the track. Mm-hmm. You didn't.
Right. And the reason why I didn't was because as we were driving offline, I felt that the car was misbehaving or the tires were misbehaving. But what was actually happening, because I'm unfamiliar with this car, was I was feeling all the pebbles from the tires on the cars that were left behind. So I kept thinking that something was wrong with the car and I kept bringing it in. I brought it in twice. And at that point, I just parked it because I wasn't sure. And I kind of, after 20 minutes, everybody came in. I'm like, I missed that one. I explained what happened. He goes, you were probably just feeling the pebbles, the rubber pebbles on the track. Exactly. The marbles. Exactly. So that was me being in,
newbie.
Exactly. So that was a sensation I wasn't used to or comfortable with. So I end up calling it. And the last one is something called the Indian Run.
Or the Native American Run.
Or the Native American Run. Or the Indian American one. Indigenous American Run.
Sure.
There you go. Okay. So what they did was we would follow our instructor. They break us up into a group of 4s. And we would follow the instructor. And the person from the last in line would, first of all, they would run you up the right hand of the track, the right side of the track the entire way. And then they would do the left side of the track the second time.
So you're in one big line?
One big line.
Okay.
And the last person that's driving would pass all the other cars to the front student, between the student and the instructor. And you would have to keep doing that. There is no pausing. So as soon as one went, the other went, and then the other went, and then the other went. So it wasn't, you didn't wait for the person to get in line before the passing would start. And we did that all the way up the left side of the track or the outside of the track. And then we did it on the inside of the track. The thought of it gave me a little bit of anxiety doing it, because I'm just like, oh, am I ready for this? But as soon as we started doing it and I was watching people doing it, it ended up being pretty seamless. And we did that as one of our last exercises. So the track was dry. And I think that most of my anxiety, a little bit of my anxiety, was coming from the fact that the track was wet for probably half of the HPDE event. And I'd watched
end of Saturday and early Sunday.
Right. And I watched a lot of cars. I watched a lot of cars spin in our group, a lot of cars. So I was very apprehensive and not comfortable in my tires. But as soon as the track was dry, I was very, very comfortable in the tires and very comfortable in the car.
Cool. So, Mr. Bill, what kind of drills did you do in HPDE 3?
So HPDE 3 is a little different in that it takes the drills from HPDE 2 and makes them bigger or faster. It doesn't really matter. So the way the structure of the course is you're set up your first, there are 4 sessions each day, and your first session each day is just a loosening up and stretching out and basically open track. So on Saturday, we started off with a side-by-side drill, which is basically what Vicki did, only we have to keep our doors closer to each other, and we can't let one car get ahead of each other by more than half a car length. So I was paired with another driver, and basically you try to go at a comfortable rate all the way around the track, and then you switch sides. So if you're on the left first lap on the once you cross start finish, you switch and you're on the right side, and you do that for 2 laps, and then it's open track. Then we have the mini pass drill, which is the same one that Vicki mentioned, where 2 cars pair up and you go out there and you pass as quickly as possible. However, in HPDE 3, we do it at the entire track, so everywhere, every single section of the track, and you try and not only pass your partner, but if you're able to catch or be caught by another group, then you either link up and become a group of 4, or you let the other team go through and they continue passing. So you're passing while they're passing. So it gets a little crazy. A lot of fun. We were rained out with the 3 wide drill. The 3 wide drill is pretty crazy. You have a line of cars on the left and a line of cars on the right, and the last car zips up the middle, and you do that for the entire track. Quite fun, but in the rain wasn't happening. Cool. Then on Sunday we had some more drills. Black flag drill. Always, we have what's called the monster pass, which is kind of crazy. We didn't end up doing it, and then we did the 2 wide just to start the session, because with the rain and the lack of grip on the track, they wanted to minimize the number of times we were 3 wide. So we dropped one of the drills, but it was fun. Had a great time.
Cool. So did you use your telemetry?
Of course we did.
Of course you did, because you're Bill.
Right. Yeah,
Can
we
you
ran.
Share?
What's that?
Can you share?
Sure. We ran 2 pieces of telemetry this week because we were running in street cars. We had our Apex Pros, which you're very familiar with, and Vicki got to use the Garmin for the first time, since she has the ability to plug it in her car that we had this time. Her Miata does not have the ability to plug it in yet. We're working on that. So Vicki got to see her Garmin for the first time. What did you think of the Garmin, Miss Vic?
Actually, we can use it in my Miata now.
Oh, we fixed that. That's right.
I fixed that. Yes.
Okay.
The Garmin was pretty awesome when it did start to speak to me, because it takes 3 laps or 2 to 3 laps for it to actually start to be the diagnostic of what's happening. do the diagnostics, and then start to speak to you. And then we're only out there for 4 laps. So
four or five. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it did start speaking to me, it was telling me wonderful things like, good job, push more here, move tighter into there, turn harder.
Apex later, apex earlier.
Apex later. It loved me. So, no, it was very good. I liked it. And then, understanding how the Apex Pro works now is, it really does. I'm really starting to focus on that also. I was using that until the Garmin started to speak on the dry day. On the wet day, not so much.
So what about you, Mr. Bill?
I'm a little more comfortable in the car than Vicki, so I tended to use both of them.
That car. Go ahead.
If you wish, we could have a race anytime you want, my dear. But anyway, so the Garmin helps a ton. I like the Garmin with the short stints. The Garmin's not as great. The track is fairly long, so the number of laps you can get in one 20-minute session is low. So you don't get a lot of in-car audio from the Garmin. However, after you finish, you have the ability to look and see what you're doing and consistently is able to do it. The Apex Pro to me was really helpful, especially in the rain, because it self-calibrated to what was available. And, if you could only go around that turn at 10 miles an hour, it would tell you that's all the grip and you're there. And if you went over it, you would find out very quickly because your car would start to wiggle or come around. Or several times we had cars either coming up on me and passing me or catching up on me. And according to the Apex Pro, it said that I was at the limit of grip. And then you'd see the cars that was either passing me or catching up to me just go right off the track. So I was able to use that, and just for reference, on the same day, same car, I went a 159 in the dry, and my best lap in the wet was a 251. And let me tell you, I was doing everything I could to get to a 251. I was over 3 minutes most of the time. I think I was under 3 minutes twice. And it's just Mid-Ohio in the rain is unlike any other track I've ever been to. We did have a listener request.
Yeah.
We did?
We had a listener request who said it would be very good for Vicki and I to go into Mid-Ohio in the rain.
Yeah.
It's a handful.
It is a handful.
It is.
From a newbie point of view,
Mm-hmm.
It is it wasn't good for me.
It wasn't good.
So to give you perspective, Jen, Mid-Ohio in the rain is way slipperier than the skid pad that we were at.
They should use that for the skid pad. Whatever that surface is, that's what they should put on the skid pad.
It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what kind of surface it is?
It's some preparation they put on it to increase grip, but it doesn't do it in the rain.
Okay.
What it may not feel it. I mean, it may not be actually the speed that you're going, but in order to stay on the track and even getting a little bit of wiggle in the back end of the car, you feel like you're going 10 miles an hour and you still have no grip. I mean, it is freakishly loose and challenging. So I don't know. I really don't know if it's the way that everybody else does it. So when I'm doing a wet track, I tend to view the line as basically a little more than a car width wide. So let's say a car and a half. If it's kind of wet, I move over half of that distance. So I'm half in, half out. Mid-Ohio, I am a full car, maybe more. sometimes the absolute opposite side of the track. And then you just have to kind of hold on and pucker up when you have to cross the line, because the line doesn't stay on one side of a track or another. It kind of goes back and forth. And when you're crossing the line in mid-Ohio, pay attention. It's kind of like when we were driving in the rain at Charlotte. When you went over any painted surfaces, they were very slippery as opposed to the track. And, you know, it was kind of weird. But take that and move it up like times 2. It is very slippery.
Yeah. Apparently, if I have this right, I'm not sure if it was either NASCAR or the F1 series had requested that the track is not grippy enough, so they end up putting this surface on the turns. And like I said, if you are, it is a car length of surface that they have covered. So when it's wet,
car width.
Yeah, a car width, yes. So you literally have to find the grip surface that is not coated. So to me, it felt like jumping on lava when you were a kid and you were like playing this lava game when you're not allowed to touch certain surfaces. That's what it felt like. You were actually crisscrossing and zigzagging your way to avoid these surfaces as you're racing this track. It was freaky.
Wow.
So Vicki had even more trouble. She was able to, on the same day, same track, she was at 208. And then later that same day, same track, her best was 327. So she lost like way more than a minute. And
how many miles per hour does that translate into?
Well, your top speed in the dry at that point in your mid-Ohio tenure was 105, and you managed to get up to a whopping 66 mile an hour at one point in the track. Not average, people. Top speed.
In all fairness, okay.
I have a video of you going down the short straight right in front of the paddock area, and usually I post them on Instagram just to show people.
Sunday driving.
Yeah. Usually they're 30-second videos they prefer. The video of her going less than a half a mile was way more than 30 seconds.
Okay. There's a story. So I met our friend Doug there.
Right.
And me and Doug became good friends because Doug ended up going off the track and hitting his car into the wall. And he was driving a Miata, which I am pretty familiar with Miatas.
And Miata.
Right. And he ended up, I think what he told me was that he did heavy toe in coming in because he had bent his tie rod. And he was like next to us or like 2 down from us, slots. So I went over there and was helping him fix his car, because we were replacing the tie rod and realigning his car for him to go, which was a lot of fun. So what I found was that as I was going out on my wet day with my son's car, and I end up coming up behind him, he ended up having Joey, the instructor, in because Doug is trying to class out and move on to HPDE 3. So he was driving with our instructor, and I figure if there's any car that I want to be behind right now is the car with the instructor in it as we're driving through the wet and this treacherous track. I literally watched a car spin out in front of me before I ended up finding Doug. So Doug was going 66 miles an hour, and I was just following him. I could have passed him if I wanted to because I knew the car had more. I'm staying behind Doug.
Pansy.
His name is Doug Goodman. Hi, Doug Goodman.
And welcome to HPDE 3, Doug. I'll be seeing you next time. All right, so Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel better about the track, Miss Vicki?
Well, not so much in the morning because it was still slippery, but it was drying out. So it was getting better.
All right, so
how about you?
Well, I was fine with the track, really. You only did 3 of your sessions. One was wet, one was semi-wet, and one was pretty dry. And then you skipped on the last one because you were packing and tired.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your Sunday?
The morning was a little scary. I was still very apprehensive. Did the job, got through. But I started drying out. I think that was when, that's when I had Joey in the car with me.
Yes.
Joey hopped in my car and he was giving me instruction. And it was great. But Joey was also giving me instruction in the moment. And I have this thing with me where I think it's either it's an executive skills thing, or with my same thing my son has. I need a moment to process it. So people that speak to me in the moment don't help me, because I take just a breath of a moment to process it.
It's like a rain delay.
Yeah. So I did what I could when I was driving with him, and it was still wet, so I was still apprehensive.
Well, you drove with him driving, and then you drove with you driving, or back vice versa?
I end up hopping in his car next on our next session out. And as soon as that happened, it wasn't as wet. I mean, the track really started to dry out at that point. Mm-hmm. But when I was driving with him in his Miata, then I started understanding how to drive the track now. He was explaining in the radio as he was physically doing it. So I understood much better. And then on my third stint out, it was totally dry, and I gained a lot of time on that day. So I was hearing the tires, and I was enjoying the fact that I was hearing the tires, and I was starting to push it more. And I had way more confidence in the track and the car itself.
And you broke 2 minutes.
I did.
That's right.
I did. I did well. I think on my last day. Well, I kept telling you too, because you were looking for results and not like being a jerk looking for results. But
wow, I'm right here.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, because Bill, my husband is a very systematic type of person, and the progressions, and he speaks for improvement in very much a robot way.
He's a data guy.
He's a data guy. Exactly. He's a data guy. And as I was explaining to him that you weren't going to see results from me until Sunday or late Sunday, or even the next time I come out on a new track with a new car.
It'd be great if Jen could come the next time.
It just wasn't going to happen. So, but I think that my last stint out for that day, my stint, I know I missed the last one, but I think I showed great improvement. I felt I showed great improvement.
You did. Joey even said something to me. Joey, future podcast guest.
Yes.
We're trying.
Yes.
He's camera shy.
Yeah.
So Bill, you Sunday.
I did. So the last time I was at, let's make sure everybody understands. This is an HPDE. You never drive full out, right? It's not a race. It's for practice. Last time I was there driving at the same pace, same car, exactly. My best was like a 152. So I go out, and on my third session, my best lap is a 150.01. It's kind of like having a bowling high score of a 199. It's so frustrating to be so close yet so far. So anyway, I end up talking with Robin and just joking around about it being quite funny. And so I broke my personal record by like 2.5 seconds, but it was just frustrating to be like 1/100th of a second over, like breaking into the next. Anyway, so I had one more stint, went out there and routinely beat 150 and actually got it down to a 147. So I gained a little over 5 seconds for this time as opposed to last time, and I felt a whole lot more comfortable. And like I said, I learned the backside much better. I did have one instructor with me during the weekend. We went over lines, especially on the backside, and that helped a great deal. We were not able to get an instructor in there to sign me off to HPDE 4. Vicki was coming in late from her sessions, and I didn't have time to get into the car on time with them. So next time we'll see if we can get into HPDE 4.
Okay. So when were you using Sunday? Were you using the Garmin or the Apex Pro?
Both. We kept them both in the same. We were both sharing the same car, and we just set it up and just left it there for the whole weekend. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
Cool. Yeah, I think next time we go, we discussed about bringing 2 cars.
Yeah, we're going to bring 2 cars next time.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier, and if something goes wrong, you've got 2 cars. It'd be even better if we had 2 cars and 3 drivers. That would be that'd be great.
Is it supposed to rain?
It's tough to tell. It's a month out. But let me tell you, you would love it. It's like a skid pad, only slipperier. So I had some questions for you, Miss Vicki.
Okay.
Telemetry. You're finally starting to get into it a little bit.
Starting to understand it.
Starting to use it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to actually want me to talk to you about it after you're in the car a little bit.
The reason is that the amount of inputs that I have to process.
I understand.
That now I'm starting to be able to get more muscle memory, so I can start to focus on details now.
Okay. So what are you thinking about either the Apex Pro or the Garmin Catalyst? Both. What do you like? What do you think could improve? Did you have any questions?
She likes that the Garmin talks to her.
Well,
you know that's because it's not my voice. So
yeah,
if it was
they
my
do
voice,
different things.
Like, shut up.
They do different things.
They do.
So, what I like about both, I would prefer having both in the car, because the Apex Pro does things in real time, right there. It lets you know by the amount of dots that are going across whether you need to move over just a hair or whether you're on the right line. And
it's whether you're using the grip, not the line, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, it actually lets you know if you're using the line too, because if I'm not on the line, it's letting me know if I'm not on the line. So, because it's a pre-programmed track. So that's how I'm reading it. If I'm not doing something properly, it's letting me know by if I'm in the right position or not, and if I'm using the grip. But the Garmin is telling me as an instructor in the seat what I need to do approaching something, not so much in something. And it's also recording, and it has a built-in camera, so it's showing me how I'm driving, and then it shows me the optimal line on what I should be doing at the same time.
What it would look like from the car.
Right, yes, exactly. So that was pretty awesome. I would run both. I think both are a benefit.
Jen, you've run both so far, not as much because we barely got it working the last time, but what did you think?
I don't think that that's a fair question for me to answer right now because
still new.
It's still very new, and it's really hard for me to even tell them apart at this point. So yeah, ask me in the future.
All right.
Yeah,
maybe at Mid-Ohio in a month. And anyway,
you know,
it's supposed to rain again.
Yeah,
I'm asking. It's going to rain because I'm hearing horror stories here.
50-50.
So
harder in a good way, though, Jen.
The thing is, again, is just that in Jennifer and I cases is that I'm a little bit more getting more with the muscle memory. So I'm starting to branch out, probably because I'm in HPDE too. I'm starting to do different things. Is that things are becoming more solid with what I'm supposed to be doing on the track. That makes a huge difference, and that was one thing that we had brought up into our HPDE too. That how important muscle memory is, so you can focus on other inputs. You can focus on strategy on the track. And when you're not worrying about your car, you're not worrying about shifting or if you're driving in the right spot, you know.
So mostly to Vicki, but if you've got any as well, Jen, did you have any questions about what they were doing or how they worked or anything I could help you with?
No, not right now. I'm not as familiar to be able to.
Well, it's been 6 months since you used it too, so that's kind of hard. Vicki, anything?
No, I don't think at this point. I think at the next point.
Do you think it helped?
Well, okay. So it's not so much about those things as the gadget. Listen, the gadgets are great. They really are. But in HPDE 2, I am focusing on different things at the moment. HPDE 3 is when I think that I'm really going to be able to focus more on those. Because right now we're just more focused on drills and driving properly more than we are about racing. But when it comes to those, I think the process of coming off the track, at least for me, coming off the track and at the end of the day and reviewing all the data, there has to be a window of time when it's, and I think this even for the HPDE 2, I mean, when not HPDE 2, but when we're racing, is that before we actually sit and review data in my skill level right now, it's really overwhelming because part of it's exhaustion, part of it's adrenaline, and part of it is just getting through. That I don't have enough muscle memory happening with me to start really implementing a lot of data other than driving the track properly and getting from point A to point B. So I am not getting as much out of it yet because of my learning process, where I am in my learning process. If I have all those skills down and I'm just driving the track to improve, then I'm going to be focused more on data.
Yeah. Do you think it helped you at all or no?
I think it helped me getting around the track and in the moment while they were there. I think for me to start reviewing the data and start to improve, I'm not quite there yet. Okay. At least not. I think maybe on a track that I'm really familiar with, when I don't have to focus so much on trying to learn the track, then if I already know the track and I already know my inputs, then that's different.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So thoughts for the weekend. Good, the bad, the ugly. Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill.
Good. It was great to have Vicki there. That's why I wanted it for Father's Day. And I really liked that Vicki got to see what a
Mother's Day,
truly wet and slick track was. So that was good. My bad. Vicki's going to yell at me. Vicki insists on driving to learn a track. It drives me batty. Just does. Anyway, moving on before I get yelled at because I don't want to sleep in a tub tonight. Anyway, ugly. I think the ugly for me was with the wet / icy track conditions at Mid-Ohio, there was a little more carnage than normal, both in the races and in the HPDEs. A few cars got a little dings, and it was pretty tricky conditions. So that would be my ugly for the weekend. Do you have anything, Vic?
My good is the instruction is above anything that, as that I know of in this whole area or region. It's incredible. They are fantastic. I love this circuit. I love this group, the Great Lakes. It is certainly for us, it's worth the drive. The bad was the rain, I would have to say. The bad was the rain. The ugly was as many cars that were just not able to manage that, and how many spin outs and how many wrecks that were on that track was really making me cautious and apprehensive about driving on that track.
So I got invited into the instructor meetings, and we did a lot of work on what to do, especially at Mid-Ohio for racing in the rain. And there's going to be some changes and some additions, especially when we're at Mid-Ohio, since it is so slick, to help prepare people before. If it looks like there's going to be rain, we're going to have some drills added into the curriculum. So I think it was recognized as something that we can do better as an organization. So that'll be good for next time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All All right. Were there any aha moments?
Anything you learned, Vicki?
Making my tires sing. That was huge.
Again.
Were they singing in the rain?
They were not singing in the rain. Nope. There'd be no singing in that rain on that track. Nope.
No. All right. Non-driving wise, I did miss all the friends that I've generated at NASA Great Lakes. It's great to see them again. And just getting with the NASA Great Lakes region for the HPDEs, it definitely fits our style and our desires a bit more. It's more teaching and it just fits what we're looking for. Driving wise, the thing that I was working on was trying to get into slip angle and control and corrections, and I was pretty easily able to do that, especially in the dry. In the wet, it was I actually have more trouble when it's transitioning to wet than I do when it's full wet. But once I was able to do that, I was able to control that, and that was it was endless fun to treat the keyhole like a skid pad, because it's basically a U. Or you're going, let's say you're going north, and then you turn around and go absolutely south, and it's just a continuous smooth radius, almost like a half of a skid pad. And I definitely treated it like a skid pad for a while, and probably had some of my best, let's say, drifting moments. Most of them were on purpose. I won't say all. The first one was definitely not on purpose. And then ahas, I was really able to push, and using the vision was a big help for me. That would be the aha moment for me. Did you have any ahas, Vicki?
That was my aha.
Singing?
Making my tires sing. I was really getting comfortable because I took advantage of the skid pad. So now I'm comfortable with making my car slide.
Yep.
Okay.
Jen, you're going to have so much fun at HPD too. That's where you're going next.
May.
You have to. You're so progressed out of HPD 1.
You're ready.
All right. So would you go again? Scale 1 to 10.
10.
10. Easy.
Okay. What would you
our
change?
dog wants to be on the podcast right now, apparently.
Does she talk?
No.
Does she want to host?
She's a tough interview.
Okay. Would you change anything if you could?
What do you think, Vic?
No. You know what? I just wish that they were closer.
Yeah, if we could just zip the United States a little closer so it's not 8 hours. I would like to have prepped a bit more before we got to the track. Moving on.
What was the best part?
Spending time with my husband.
I was going to say Vicki being there. I don't get to go to Great Lakes very often with Vicki. Usually it's Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh only. But
I wasn't supposed to be in this one, but at last minute he signed me up.
Wait a minute. I have to go get a tissue so I can wipe my tear.
Well, since I'm sleeping in the bathtub, I can get you some. No problem.
I know what Bill's saying. Bill wants me to prepare more for the tracks before I show up. Mm-hmm. And technically he's right.
What?
I should.
What?
I'm
definitely editing this podcast now. That last word's going to be much louder than you said.
You are. Yeah. So I should, but you know what? And it would help me to know the track, but it would not help me to drive the track, because that would be a sensation thing that I have to conquer.
No worries.
Yep.
Did you have any favorite cars? It's always fun at NASA events to see some of the cars, because there's some crazy cars that get out there.
No.
We didn't really walk around a lot. We were very busy.
No. Yeah. I like our cars.
Okay.
I don't care about other people's cars.
I will give a shout out. It was great to see Tim's new Spec E46 out there for the first time. Good luck with that, sir. There's one of my favorite. There's an ND Miata out there that is in full race prep. He's in HPD 4 now. He was in HPD 3 and 2 with me, but he's in 4. And I always talk to him and say, your car is one of my favorites. It's got a very nice livery. All race car all the time, no street. It's awesome.
Mm.
And then there was a mini in Vicky's group of HPDE, which was quite
There were
fun.
a lot of minis.
It was.
Yeah. Poor Megan ended up crashing hers into a Subaru BRX.
I thought she was in a Miata.
She was. I'm sorry, not a Mini. I'm sorry, she was in a Miata. There was a lot of Miatas.
It was.
But there was one Mini. I love how they did their lettering or their numbering on the side. Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Yep. So nice guy, super nice guy.
Yep.
Lots of Mini. Not minis. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really tired, guys. I really apologize. So
every time.
Yeah. So lots of I think that they had a Miata group that was racing there.
Spec Miata, yeah.
I think they had a Mustang group that was racing there.
American Iron, yes.
Yes, they were racing there at the same time. So I guess they're spec also?
No, different cars in that group. There's several cars. They had a lot of the race car groups got grouped together. Like they had Spec Iron, which is, or American Iron, which is mostly Mustangs, some Camaros, things like that. And then they had those with the Porsche group, the 911s and everything. And then they had that with some almost prototype cars. And I watched their race when it was full rain. And man, those cars, they were struggling. It was because a lot of them were out there on slicks. And you can imagine being on, well, Vicki can't imagine. She's never driven a slick. But imagine a tire that doesn't shed any with water in the full rain. And they're racing. So that was, from what I could see, it looked like tons of fun to be a spectator. But I'm not sure it was fun to be a driver. But it was great. Good weekend.
It was a good weekend.
Why don't we do it again in a month? You know, it would be better.
Listen, Jennifer has her own challenges right now.
You know, it'd be better to make it even better in 1 month if instead of 2 Garage Heroes in training.
What would be better for Jennifer is something that's close.
Ohio's close.
I have a long weekend that weekend. I'm looking.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drive, though.
Memorial weekend.
7 hours.
Probably, yeah. Stay tuned. Next episode, you never know. Bill might guilt Jennifer into coming. We'll see. Stay tuned. Same bat channel. So Jennifer, how was it hosting?
It was okay.
Wow.
I'm just, you know, how you just kind of want to be that person, but you're not.
You did good.
You did great. Jennifer, any other questions for Mid-Ohio Review?
I think you guys did a fantastic job. Yeah, you guys did a good job.
Jennifer, I'm looking forward to hanging. I'm looking forward to hanging with you.
I know. It's going to be a great year.
It would be.
I'm excited.
So, the first of many, more to come. Come celebrate Father's Day, Memorial Day weekend. Come say hi. We've got stickers guaranteed to make you 1 mile an hour faster. Just say hi. Money back guarantee since we give them away for free. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to go in the tub now.
Dominating with Dawson.
Dominating with Dawson. Dominating with Dawson. Ben Dawson, come in.
Roger, over and out.
Excellent. Excellent. I've got co-pilots tonight. I've got Jennifer.
Hello.
I've got Vicki.
Hi.
And obviously there's me. So we're going through our Dominating with Dawson questions. And one of them came up that Jennifer was not familiar with the term.
Okay.
So we'll start with the term and then we'll work on more of it. So she was not familiar with the term dive bombing.
Okay.
I know for a fact she's never done it, but she would like to know what the term dive bombing means.
Not knowingly anyway.
Nope, guaranteed you haven't done it.
Right. Well, that's.
I did. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure you're still in the safe phase of your career. You've probably been dive bombed.
Yes, she has. I know for a fact of that.
It's funny, like so dive bombing is a term that generally means that somebody comes flying in, passing you to your inside on the way into a corner, like maybe even after you've started braking, where you don't expect it. Like somebody just comes flying in. They may make it or they may not. It's dangerous. It's considered to be a dangerous pass. My experience, not to pivot away from the reality of dive bombing to perception too quickly, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. A lot of times people feel like they're being dive bombed by a faster racer who's just kind of coming in for a pass. Like, I don't know why you're parking the car in this brake marker. I brake at the threesome. But usually, hopefully when that happens, when you're being passed by a faster racer who brakes deeper than you, usually they'll pull out and kind of telegraph the move. Like a true dive bomb is a late pass into a brake zone where you just pop out kind of with no warning. Like that to me, that would be the real definition of a dive bomb. Would be kind of a sneaky late braking pass going into a corner. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But also there are definitely going to be plenty of times, especially with the variety of skill levels that exist in, HPDE world and also in amateur endurance racing, where, you feel like you got dive bombed, but somebody who's been, in a faster car or just driving their junk faster than you're driving your junk might just drive past you and then brake later. So it's a little bit of perception versus reality in some cases.
You guys got that one?
Mm-hmm.
You ever been dive bombed?
Yeah. I
Somebody ever dive bomb you guys?
Black Betty.
Black Betty dive bombed you?
No, I don't think they dive bomb. No. I think that I'm just a little nervous on the track.
Okay. So
yeah, I think just to respond to what you're saying, Vicki, about being nervous on track. If that's the case and you're sort of concerned about cars with a lot more pace coming up and passing you going into a corner, there, especially in an amateur endurance race or in an HPD, there's kind of some things that you can do to let that person know, like, hey, I see you back there. I'm going to let you by as quick as I can. You can kind of wave between where your seats would be, or just kind of right over your shoulder, just to say, hey, I see you back there. I'm going to let you through. That might kind of reduce that person's urgency to try to jam the pass through, but also just being aware that they're going to come through. And the main directive that you have as the car being passed is to just run the same line you would be running. I know everybody thinks that there's no line in lemons race and stuff like that, but if you have the opportunity to get turned into the apex and there's a car trying to pass you, still go do what you're going to do. As long as they're not alongside you, it's their job to pass you safely, and it's your job to kind of stay on the line and not be doing anything that's erratic. So to me, that's one of the things that makes me feel more comfortable in traffic is the assurance that, okay, here's a faster car coming, but I know what I got to do. I'm just going to kind of run the line. I'm going to run, and they're going to work their way around me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The other thing you can do is you can touch your rearview mirror, just to
right.
let them know that you see them. Yeah,
That's another way to signal, right? To say, I see you back there. We're gonna because also let's all remember that endurance racing, and especially HPDE driving, is a more of a collective event than an individual event. Like we're all working this track together. We're all trying to get to the same place, but there's multiple classes going on out there, and it's not necessarily a sprint, a one class sprint race where it's kind of more do or die. Does that make sense? Like it's more important to just we're gonna work our way through this set of corners together and see how it comes out.
Okay.
So correlating with dive bombing, we have what is a proper and when is a pass completed? So before we get the answer, what is a proper passing procedure and when is a pass technically completed? And instead of Ben going first, I thought it would be much more fun for Vicki to go first.
Say it again.
What would you consider to be a good passing technique? Like how would you like to do that? And when do you consider the pass complete?
Oh, I
never thought about it.
Well, for me, I'm in HPDE 1, so I don't know if it really counts. Ooh. Or HPD crossing over to HPDE 2. So our passes are on the straightest part of the track. Mm-hmm. Always.
So do you typically want to pass? Do you want to pass on the inside or the outside?
Outside.
If given your choice, what do you prefer?
You know what? It depends on where I am in the track. Okay. Honestly, it depends. It depends on where that car is, because right now everything is a little sketchy. What do you think, Jen?
Mostly on the outside.
You like passing on the outside?
Yeah.
Okay. I do too.
And then
see, the only reason why I say that is because, when you're on the straightaway and everybody's following that line,
the line might be different.
It depends on where
passing.
The line is how I'm passing, honestly.
Okay. When would you consider your pass complete?
When I'm about a half a car in front.
So your bumpers are clear, or your bumpers aren't clear?
And you're clear.
You just muted yourself there.
Bumpers are clear.
Bumpers are clear. So half a car pass.
So half
clear.
a car length. Yeah, half a car length ahead.
Yeah.
Pass clear. Okay. What do you think, Jen? Okay.
Huh?
I said, what do you think, Jen? And you just looked at me.
I didn't hear that.
That's fine.
I thought I was answering with Vicki. Yeah, definitely when you're past the car, like I don't know like how far, but definitely past them, whether it's
completely clear
of the car. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Dawson, part of dive bombing, sort of.
Yeah.
Is proper passing technique, and when is a pass completed?
So proper passing technique, I think, gosh, at least to my mind, doesn't involve anything that's sneaky. It might involve something that happens pretty quickly, but it doesn't involve. Usually, I'm not trying to pull any treacherous stuff because that's how you get wrecked. If you like, I think proper passing technique, especially in amateur endurance racing, like we do, is it's a skill that you sort of have to develop over time. They call it like racecraft, but to me, it's sort of like when I was in Scouts, we used to go river canoeing all the time through rapids and stuff like that, and learning to read the water and read is to me a lot like learning to read traffic. You sort of learn you sort of begin to get a feel for what looks more dangerous than other stuff, and it's the same thing sort of thing in traffic. Like I think that part of getting good at passing people and working your way through traffic is learning to read the body language of other cars. Like, is this car driving? Like, is this a mature driver, or is this somebody who's kind of feeling their way around? Does this person see me? Like, essentially, it comes down to when I'm coming up to think about it. If I'm going to make this pass, I'm thinking, does this person see me? If I get the impression that this person has no idea I'm there or trying to pass them on the way into a corner, I'll just try to position myself to be right up on them coming out of the corner, or even passing them on the way out of the corner. So that way, they don't really have a choice about what's happening. They're going to be doing their own thing, actually in the corner, and then hopefully I can work my way around them. But so that's my preferred method of safe passing, is passing somebody on the way out of a corner. But if traffic dictates that you have to do it on the way in, or just through the middle of a set of corners or something like that, you don't always get the luxury of passing somebody on the way out of a corner. So I think a big part of safe passing is just trying to read the car's body language and try to get a feel for if this person is aware of what's around them, or if they're just driving over their head. Does that make sense?
Does. So I think the question comes really if the cars are dissimilar in speed. Like if one of you is much faster than the other, the passes are easy, right? The tricky ones are when you're relatively close, or when you have
the real fun ones are when it takes a while,
right? Or when you have cars that get to the same lap time through vastly different ways.
Right. That's a really big one, where you're both kind of battling out and slightly better than you in the turns, but you kind of walk away from me in the straightaways. That's difficult, but that's some of the most fun we get to have in DEs and racing, I think.
What would your preferred strategy or plan of attack be for a car that, the four of us are typically not in the highest of horsepower cars relative to the field, so we would be on the lower end, but hopefully maybe a little more skilled or a little better at getting through turns to make up for it.
Right.
So what would your strategy or way that you try to get that set up to be able to deal with that type of horsepower disadvantage?
Yeah, I mean, I typically in that sort of scenario, I mean, if you're talking endurance racing traffic, it's not just going to be that you spontaneously popped up into a scenario where here I am with this person. You caught that person, right? Like
yes.
you caught to this higher horsepower scenario in your lower horsepower car. So you're driving what you might call a momentum car, and your momentum carries you up to this person who's driving a car with more power, but probably not driving it as well as they could. But the point is that you got to them. So it's an evolving situation. So typically what I would do when I pull up on a person like that, you can kind of sense their disbelief. Like, what is this Miata doing here?
There's no way I'm letting this Miata pass me.
Right. So you kind of have to drive in their psyche for a couple laps just to let it happen. Just sort of be there. At least in my life, I got time for all this. Like the ultimate quick cheat code answer is I'm gonna jam it in there on the brakes eventually and just embarrass them on the brakes and run away. That's your best shot. It's eventually you're just gonna have to jam it in so deep on the brakes and then take off from them. And but hopefully if you have time, you spend a couple laps being right there in their mirrors every few sets of corners. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's right on me every set of corners. I'm slowing this person down. You want to deliver the perception that, hey, yes, I understand you have 500 horsepower, but you're slowing me down. You're slowing every few corners. Like you're right up on them again. At the end of every brake zone, you pull right up on their back bumper again. After they walked you, at the end of a brake zone, you're right there on them again. You just make it very obvious to them that this, you're slowing me down. I'm right there. Please let me pass. Even though you got 1 million horsepower, we're going to work this out. And sometimes they get it, and if they don't, eventually you probably just want to just jam it in there on the brakes and make it happen. You know what I mean? I would rather not force it, but I will.
So no chrome horn.
No, just but be there. I mean, I think. But
make them feel you.
A huge part of racecraft, in my mind, is your presence and where you put yourself, and how you present yourself in somebody's mirrors. I mean, you could even do stuff to make it look like you're almost out of control, trying to stay away from them. Like, I can barely hang on to this thing. You're so slow. You know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah, you could.
Not saying I've ever did that on the interstate to a left lane rider or anything.
Well, you've also got the a lot of times just by applying, let's call it pressure, or a lot of their rear view mirror, it will often induce an error, a big error.
Yeah, I am not a huge on that. Like, I'm never truly trying to push somebody to make a mistake, because often their mistake is going to eat you up too. But it happens. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, there's plenty of times
they'll just blow an apex.
Especially when you're racing a lower power car and you're kind of, if you're in a Miata and you're beating up on a pretty nice E36, sometimes that driver's gonna drive off the track a few times trying to stay away from you until they realize, like, this person is just doing it better than I am.
But if you're trying to, especially if you're in a momentum car, what I tend to think is the way that I try and do things is I'll try and apply a little bit of pressure by staying relatively close, hoping for an error, but I'm not looking at their car, I'm looking at my line. And if they're looking in their rearview mirror and missing the line, I don't want to follow them on a poor line. I want to take advantage of it and then pass them. So
yes, I hope they'll make a mistake within the bounds of the track, and then I can eat it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Miss Vicki? You look puzzled.
No.
Okay.
What do you think, Jen?
I mean, certainly anybody that's running up on my butt and making themselves known. I mean, I have an issue with trying to just ignore people because I guess what makes me nervous is I think I pay too much attention to people that are around me.
You do.
So I need to stop doing that. So this, I don't know, would be a fair question for me to ask, because I would certainly want that person to get away from me as quickly as possible, meaning I would let them pass it at the soonest available time.
Yes.
So it would relieve my stress. So, but yeah.
But when you were first learning, I remember one time specifically at Thompson, you were asking, where can I go so I'm not in anybody's way?
Oh yeah.
As opposed to drive the line and they'll figure it out around you.
See, that's what I'm worried about, though, is like driving the line. I think people even get ticked off at you driving the line and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Ben's making a rattling sound.
Because they're trying to fight me on the line when I'm trying to be on the line.
There's differences in levels too.
Yeah.
There's The general rule that you need to get comfortable with, I think, is you drive the line, and if they're faster than you, they'll go around you.
Mm-hmm.
If you start not driving the line, they don't know where you're going to go, and you're more dangerous.
Yeah, when people say drive the line, they're not saying, Vicki, be right there at the apex. Even if there's somebody trying to pass you, it doesn't mean that. I mean, it just means that you're trying to stick as true to the line as you can as traffic allows. So like you don't want to force it, but generally you're trying to follow the path you would normally drive, and then people will work there around you. So if your apex is on the right hand side and on the exit you get pushed way out to the left, normally just do that, and then they'll have to exit slightly less left to get past you. But the idea is that they're faster enough to make it work.
Okay.
And the combination of driving the line and hand signals should make it a non-event if you just want them to go by. You drive the line and tell them to go left or tell them to go right. And you'll
I think waving to let people know that you see them is huge, because it kind of takes a little pressure off the passing car. Like, okay, they got it. They understand what's happening. I'm going to pass them. It doesn't happen all the time, especially not in racing, but it is one of the things you can do to take a lot of pressure off of yourself and the person trying to pass you if you just want to kind of make stuff work. If you want to sort of cheat code and get through traffic with relatively pain-free and having people pass you, that's kind of one way to do it. I wouldn't say do it all the time, but it's definitely, I think it can help you manage the flow of traffic even if you're getting passed.
Okay, so one last thing before I end this little segment of dominating.
I'm sorry, yes. I didn't answer how you can tell that the pass is completed.
Oh, that's right.
What was it?
How you can tell when a pass is complete. That's right.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Dawson.
Right. So that's one of the. So we talked about what I think is the safe way to pass, but also when you're trying to gauge if a pass has been completed or not. The quick way for me is if I can look at my rear view and see most of that car behind me, then I feel like it's probably safe to get back online. But for the most part, if it's a pass that's going into a turn or something like that, if I've already kind of done my braking offline and I've started my turn in offline, I'm probably just going to stay offline, not try to cross right back in front of that car. Like I figure we'll just get sorted out on the way out of the corner. But I'm not ever in a huge hurry to just jump right back online after making a pass. It's always worth my time to wait. It's a way to make sure that I can see enough of that car in my mirror to know that I've cleared them. Because if you haven't completed the pass and you try to get back online, it's bad. You'll have bad contact, big wrecks, knock wheels off, that kind of thing. Flip over, it can be really bad.
Ben's had that happen. Somebody did not quite clear the bow, but anyway,
it can be very bad. So that I wanted to make sure I spoke to that. Like I started racing in karts where there was no mirrors, so you had to be pretty good at gauging like how much faster am I going past this other person? Can I whip it back up on back in front of them? Because that was sprint racing, that was on oval, so being online was really very crucial, much more so than road course. But that's kind of where I started to get a good feel for that, and gauging that and having a good understanding when a pass is complete is a big part of racecraft also.
Okay. So when we were talking about passing before, you said you prefer to pass on the outside. What are the advantages and disadvantages of passing on the outside versus passing on the inside?
No, there's no advantage. I just love doing it. Like if I get a chance to pass like 5 people on the outside of like turn 3 or 4 at Road Atlanta or something like that, where everybody else is just camped out on the line. If I can pass a bunch of people out there where they're just kind of screwing around, not being fast enough, I'll do it. That's what I love about an outside pass. If somebody's doing it bad enough where I can pass them on the outside, I'm like, woo, 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 come on, ride that train. Hey, ride it. Wow. There's no advantage. It's just fun. It's just fun for me.
Okay. Because I tend to prefer to pass on the inside.
Yeah, everybody does. That's the way you would normally do it. So when she said that, I was like, yes, let's do our passing on the outside. Because I'll take it wherever I can get it. And an outside pass is just extra fun.
Well, the reason I say I prefer to pass on the inside is that typically if somebody's going too fast, they're going to go wider. And if I'm on the inside, I can control who goes wider because I won't.
Right, exactly. The normal formula is passing on the inside. Just every now and then when something's an upset condition enough where I get to pass somebody on the outside, I just enjoy it. But it's not any faster and there's no advantage to it.
Okay.
But sometimes you get to do it.
What about you, Miss Vicki?
I haven't really thought about what I prefer yet because right now it's just an opportunity. But I think I usually prefer to do it on the inside only because I have control.
Mm-hmm.
Passing on the outside, I'm just unless the opportunity is there. Yeah.
Miss Jen, any thoughts?
Outside.
Outside? Oh, Miss Jen goes outside. Well, now we know why Ben and Jen get along. All right, very well. Well, there hopefully will be more passing this season coming up than there was in the last season.
I'm excited about this upcoming season.
Should be fun.
We've learned so much to apply it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. You guys have been doing a lot of hard work to get back to being faster on track.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in through the AER and WRL races at VIR this year. I'm excited to get back and race something.
Ooh, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. We're trying to get out there and see you in
cars.
I'm trying to
talk
get to
you
VIR
so many times and we still haven't seen you in real life, but we'll get there.
Is anybody really convinced that I'm a real person?
They think I just have this amazing voice control.
It's a bot.
It's a genie of some sort.
All right. And on this episode of Dominating with Bot.
Hello.
Signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.